Hello everybody and welcome to this new webinar here at IONOS. My name is Matteo Castellani and I'm a cloud solutions architect. I've been working in IONOS for a few months now, and today we're going to look at how to plan your move to the cloud in case that you are hosting right now on a virtual servers or bare metal servers. First of all, if you're looking into the cloud, you actually doing the right thing. How do you know that you're doing the right thing? That's because probably your business is growing. The access to your website are getting more and more. You planning to invest on a marketing campaign, or you do have workload changes that you need to manage in terms of expectation, in terms of spending, and cloud is the response to all of these things. So let's take it one at a time. Like, when you're working on virtualization or dedicated system, very often the limits are the CPU, the memory, and the disk space. It's really difficult to, what we say, scale vertically, so increase the CPU, the memory, or just change the disks. And this is due to the physical nature of the hardware. It requires downtime, and it will require for you to switch everything off, plan the maintenance, maybe during the night, and then switch everything on again. On the other side, if you're planning to invest heavily in a marketing campaign, you want your infrastructure to be responsive. One thing that you do not want is one-off really high spending marketing campaign that goes into nothing because your servers are not capable to deal with all the loads that comes towards your direction. And that is why cloud could help you out, because with very small investment, you can test if your marketing campaign can be successful or not. The same thing can be said about the workload change, where you can save money in cloud instead of investing lots of money on virtual servers and dedicated servers and maybe plan an investment for years, while cloud is by nature really flexible, pay as you go, and allows you to forecast for what your spending is going to be. During this webinar, we're going to talk about what kind of skills do you need to operate your infrastructure in cloud, what type of knowledge to design the strategy for the migration, and what are the saving opportunity and the flexibility the cloud has to offer to you. In details, this is going to be part one of three webinars. This one is about planning your migration into cloud. The next one is going to be how to deal with backups and redundancy, and the third one is going to be how to do with security. You don't have to worry, but if you're attending this webinar or if you register for this webinar, we're going to follow up with an email sending you the link of the follow-up. So let's talk about the essential skill when you're planning into the cloud. Just lift and shift your load to the cloud has been proven is a strategy that works very few times. All the time that you go and you plan a migration to the cloud, what you really want to do is to plan for a little bit of rework on your infrastructure. And this is due to the fact that cloud, and we're going to see it later on, it's slightly different from a virtualized environment or a dedicated environment. There are lots more moving parts, there's more automation going on. And if on one side it makes your life easier, on the other side, if you approach it like a virtual machine, a classic virtual machine or a classic dedicated machine, it could give you a little bit of trouble. That's why to plan and execute your migration, you will need basic sysadmin administration skill when you can understand how to manage the inside of your systems. You will need database administration because every application today has a base of data to manage, which could be on an SQL, NoSQL, or object storage data. You will need fundamentals of network administration because cloud could be one of those things that is secure by design. And as a cloud provider, we help you to do so, but there needs to be a discussion around what you expect from your network security. Obviously, there's going to be some basic DNS knowledge because nobody really wants to visit your website using your IP address, but they want to know your name. And with that, very often comes a DDoS protection. With that comes a CDN system that can help you make your website faster. And then it's not mandatory, but it really helps if you understand what object storage is, what static content is, and how static content is different from dynamic content. This is all with the idea of planning and creating your strategy to execute your migration in cloud. Now, if you do not have all the skills, it's absolutely normal. If you do not have a dedicated team that works 100% on your IT systems, it's okay. Cloud, the way that we bring our customers to cloud is just like making the first steps. And that's why at IONOS, we do offer a service with our cloud solution architect team that are going to be able to help you to move those first steps, highlight what could be the wrong strategy, understand what is your type of load, and design your infrastructure starting from the way that is more cautious for you to migrate into cloud. As we said before, just migrate everything all at once is a strategy that almost never works. And our solution architect will try to understand what are your skills that you have in-house, what are the skills that you do not have, and try to design the migration around you and your needs, especially because if you're migrating into cloud, you're doing it for your business. And this is why we're going to help you to keep your business going. Our solution architect will help you, but this is not a type of managed cloud kind of help, because IONOS itself is an infrastructure as a service provider, and we provide you, we make sure that everything there is designed. We help you to understand the products, to identify which product is best for you. But if you need a little bit more of an hands-on help, we can bring to the table our partners. Our partners are certified partners that have been working with IONOS for years. And what is that this partnership is going to bring to the table for you is the professionality and the professionalism to help you managing bits of your infrastructure that you don't feel comfortable with, or bits of your infrastructure that you didn't know you actually needed. And it's fine. We're going to bring to the table, to the conversation, this partner of ours, and you can choose who is the best for you. We do not force the decision. It's just a decision that you will have to make. How do you create infrastructure into cloud, and how do you leverage the flexibility of cloud? Cloud is driven by automation. And the fact that it's driven by automation, it's kind of very different from a dedicated or virtualized system where there are people there provisioning your servers. Driven by automation, it means that at the click of a button, you can spin up a virtual machines, or using a special program, you can spin up 100 virtual machines and create a complete different infrastructure for the one that you can create using just virtualized and dedicated system. One of the first things that comes into mind when you're professionally talking about cloud is the fact that Terraform is the infrastructure as a code is an infrastructure as a code software of choice for IONOS. Obviously, Terraform is a very advanced system that's been used in DevOps, and you may not feel comfortable with that because, yeah, sure, it may not be for everybody. It brings a large amount of benefits, but obviously required advanced knowledge, and you may not be okay with that. To avoid any issue and to provide you with a simple to use interface, IONOS will provide you with what is called the DCD control panel. This is a drag and drop interface when you can build your infrastructure, create your network connection, set up network load balancers, set up classic load balancers, and what really gives you the capability of looking at your infrastructure looking at your infrastructure and set up and see where the security is needed or where more servers are needed. The control panel includes 99% of the functionality. The other 1% is only available through our API system, but don't worry, that 1% is really the high level knowledge that is needed to use it. So most of the people that are starting the transition into cloud will not feel the need for those functionalities. What you will find on our control panel is the management of the users, the management of the system, the capability of scaling the system vertically, so adding and removing memory and CPUs directly through the control panel. And it's something that happens live. And this is a very different approach from all the other cloud service providers that you find out there. At the moment, I don't know of anyone that has this kind of control panel that allows you to keep all your servers under one specific interface. What will you achieve with cloud? It really depends on your workload. There are a few things moving from a virtualized environment or a dedicated environment that you can see. And I think that the best way to do this is just see a demo and see how our control panel works. And from there, you can understand, we can compare a little bit what is a dedicated infrastructure, what is virtual infrastructure, how they usually set up. And from there, we can compare to a cloud infrastructure. Second, and I just switch to my control panel. This is our DCD control panel. It's very easy to use. On the right hand side, you do have the resource allocation, which show the resources that you have available and use at any given point. This is nothing as a hard limit. This can be changed anytime you want, just to give you an idea of how much you can spend for any given month. Inside our DCD Cloud Center, you can create virtual data centers, and you can create it in different places. We do have data centers in Frankfurt, Berlin, Logroño, London, and in the USA. Once you create a data center, what you have is a completely segregated environment where you can create servers and create an infrastructure from the scratch without having the needs to call anybody. This is a complete self-service infrastructure. You can do everything that you need all by yourself. What we have here is your internet access, and we're going to use this to simulate what a connection to the internet looks like for a dedicated system. So if you have one or more of dedicated servers, what you probably have is an infrastructure of this type, when one or more systems are independently connected to the internet, and they cannot talk to each other if not through the public network. Now, very often you do not even have one single control panel to look at them. And what happens very often is that you have to log in, check the inside of the machine to understand what's happening with the monitoring, what they're doing with the CPU, or install an additional service. They're gonna do the monitoring for you, but that is additional work, right? As well, you cannot have a preferential way of connecting the two servers, because more often than not, it's not possible to connect these two machines on a private network. They always have to go with a public IP address. And this IP address is obviously going to be public. You're not going to have any firewall in front of it. That means that your machine will have to handle the security itself. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that when we're talking about cloud, few of those aspects are already being taken care of. And that's one of the reasons that we say that all the time that you migrate into cloud, there is a little bit of rework that needs doing, because it will be silly not taking advantages of all these things that your infrastructure as a service provider is offering you. So this is what a dedicated infrastructure looks like. One of the things as well that you cannot do with a dedicated infrastructure like this is scale horizontally. You can only constantly add new system, but each one of the system is on its own. The load that is going to be able to manage is the load based on the number of CPU, memory, and disk that each machine has. And as we said before, it is not possible to resize it up in an easy way. The only thing that you can do is plan a downtime, bring down all the system that you have, upgrade the hardware, and when you bring it on, hope that everything is all right and the system is going to start booting up and serving the website or the system as you were doing before. Also, you will have to look at your system on perspective for a very long time. The contracts with dedicated hardware are usually quite long, and that means that you will have to spec your system not only with what your system is capable of doing now and what the requirement of your infrastructure are now, but you will have to spec your system looking at the future. So trying to guess what your business is going to be in 1, 2, or 3 years. So you will have to spec this servers probably with the highest spec that you can find, hoping that each one of this specification is going to be useful in the future. There's no wiggle room. You would just have to go with what your provider offers you. Now, this is from the dedicated side. If we're going on the virtual side, it depends what kind of virtual providers you have, virtual machine providers you have. The situation can be similar to the dedicated system when you do have machines that are independently connected to the internet and there's no way of connect them together through a network. Or it could be a little bit more evolved where instead of having only 2 machines independently connected to the internet, you have something like a firewall. There is the main machine. This firewall is going to be connected to the internet and it's going to be the one that then provides connectivity to 1, 2, or more machines in the back end. And that is absolutely fine. You're going to have your machine on the back end. They're going to help you serve your load, maybe 1 machine and 1 database, or 2 machines with 2 databases, depends on your infrastructure again. And then you're going to have the firewall that works as a front end, and it's going to be there to filter all traffic that comes in and helps you to redirect the traffic based on the website or the service that you need to offer to your public. Again, this is a well-established infrastructure. It's well known. Lots of people out there using this kind of setup. But again, cloud can help you to save money over this because part of the security that is required on the firewall is already taken care of by your infrastructure as a service provider. As well, there are a few things that a firewall itself cannot guarantee you. On a virtual machine, you do have sometimes redundancy, sometimes not. More often not, and you will have to pay for having the redundancy. You will have to pay more to have this machine redundant. You will need IP addresses assigned to the firewall, and then you will have to manage all the backend connection using the firewall itself. If we're looking at cloud infrastructure, most of these things are already there. Let's rework this infrastructure if it was a cloud infrastructure. So I'm going to try to create a new type of servers. And the first thing that you can see in that this server, there's no hard drive. And the reason why there is no hard drive is because on our specific cloud, you can choose the type of hard drive that you want for every single machine. Not only that, but if you start using a hard drive and at some point you decide that you want to use an SSD because you require more performances, there's no limit on the amount of time that you can remove or add a drive. Obviously, you will have to move the data, and that is a given. That is true for every system, but it's the flexibility that it gives you. At the same time, when you're clicking on your server, you can decide how many CPUs and how many gigabyte of memory you're going to assign to your system. And there's 2 pounds that you see over here that will never go away. You're always going to be able to increase or decrease the amount of resources that your system has. The only thing that can only increase is with the hard drive. Yes, with the hard drive, you have the capability to increase the size of your hard drive, adding gigabyte and then resize the file system. One thing that you will not be able to do though is scale it down because it's a disruptive operation and we do not allow it. You will have just to create a new hard drive and put your data there. But the real interesting thing about cloud is all the hidden services that you don't see. At the moment, you see just a server, and it may look to you like a virtual machine. It doesn't really make any difference if you just look at this. But think about this. We do have different availability zone in our data centers, and we do have for each availability zone different clusters that can take care of your virtual machine. We do have one cluster that manages memory and CPUs, and one cluster that manages only hard drives, hard disk, and SSD. If one of the hypervisors starts having problem, we immediately migrate your machine into another hypervisor. And because of the nature of the cluster, how they've been engineered, there's not going to be much time in between the time that your machine start the migration and your machine finish into a new hypervisor. We're talking about a couple of pings lost on the way, maybe, but your Verisys system doesn't need to be relocated. The disks are where they are. We just move the load from the CPUs and memory into another CPU group and memory group. That's it. And this is normally happening automatically. If your machine is up and we need to migrate it, or if the hypervisor for some reason needs to go on maintenance, we do bring your machine up. You do not have to log in and restart your machine. And this is only the beginning. If you click on your machine and then on your network connectivity, you will see that there's a firewall directly embedded in our cloud system. And this firewall has nothing to do with your machine. You do not need to log in and set up Windows Firewall or IP tables. This is a firewall that we provide you with our hypervisors. So you're going to be able to set up and deny ingress, deny egress, or deny both sides, and then manage the firewall rules, adding it from a template like a remote access for a Windows machine, specifying from which IP address you want to log into, or create a TCP, UDP, or any protocol rules for your machines. And again, the good thing about this is your machine will never will have to deal with unwanted traffic again, because it's going to be the hypervisor connectivity that filters it out. This system is also secured by default by a specific DDoS protection system. Every machine that you create in IONOS Cloud is going to be automatically DDoS protected. And the firewall plus the DDoS protection will enable the start, if you want, of an infrastructure secured by design. Now that we talk about the hidden perks of having a cloud machine, let's talk about something that is a little bit more practical. First of all, on a normal dedicated or virtual environment, you do not have anything that resembles a network load balancer, for example, when you can simply connect your machine to and be able to scale horizontally. What does it mean, scale horizontally? It means that behind a single network load balancer, you can create what is called a cluster or machine that's serving all the same websites or the same database, and will allow you to create complex infrastructure able to serve a single website. Not only that, cloud will also enable you to create microservices. How? Imagine that you do have a classic website that is PHP and database based, and at the moment everything is on a single machine. Obviously, that machine requires to be quite big, horizontally thinking, so you need a decent number of CPU and lots of memory to make sure that any type of traffic that comes towards you is taken care of. If you're talking about cloud, you can decouple the database from the web heads, for example, creating a connectivity that goes only from the web server's machine to the database or to the databases, it depends how you want to set it up, and create a private connectivity to this machine. And again, this is something that you cannot do in a normal virtualized or dedicated environment, because they just do not offer the possibility to you to create virtual and segregated network between your machine. And again, this isn't something that IONOS infrastructure offer you by default. And if you click on each one of the machine, like now we're clicking on this web server that has 2 networks, you can see that you can define a firewall for each one of the interfaces. In terms of disk space, in terms of memory, in terms of CPU, there are very high limit, and we can satisfy any of your requests. As I said, obviously, in cloud, instead of making a very big servers, it's always useful to do very little but numerous servers, and that will help you with scale up and down your infrastructure and make sure that your bill stays below what you're actually spending with your virtual or with your dedicated system. So what will you achieve with cloud, really? So cloud will provide you a platform that can scale in 2 dimensions, we said, horizontally and vertically, where vertically you can add CPU and memory whenever you want. Sometimes it requires the restart of the services, sometimes it doesn't. That depends on your infrastructure. And horizontally, which means that you can add multiple servers behind a load balancer that is provided to you automatically, and will enable you to serve more connection and to increase the capacity of your system. It is a pay-as-you-go model, and that means that we bill you by the minute. What is the gain for you is that you can test the load of your system. You can spin up 10 servers, run a load test to see how many connections you can satisfy at any given time, and then switch everything off and go back to just 2 machines and having to pay for those 10 servers for only 5 minutes. There's no need to commit for a long period of time. There's not need to commit for a specific configuration. You can change everything that you want at any given time. Do you want to replace your hard drive? You can. Do you want to add a new hard drive? You can. You want to add more CPU? Remove CPU, add memory, remove memory. It's something that you can use at any given time. Being cloud and being automated platform also means that it's an API driven platform. That means that can help you automating your workload. Let's say that during Saturday and Sundays when you have a spike on your systems, the API can help you not only understand where the spike is coming with our monitoring driven API, but it can also help you to automate the duplication of one or more of the servers that you have in your infrastructure. And again, if you do not know what I'm talking about, please speak with us, get in touch, and our solutions architects will speak with you. I will speak with you, and we will guide you through this process to let you understand what it really means. And it's also provide you as a cloud tool to secure your platform by design, and you will be guided through how your platform should be secured and what's the best practice around. Now, thank you for listening to me so far. Please feel free to ask any question that you want. There's no problem, really. Ask anything. We're going to be here and respond to your question. Thank you. Okay, so one of the questions that we have at this moment is what kind of certification does IONOS and IONOS partner have? So on our side, as infrastructure as a service provider, we are PCI DSS compliant from the data center perspective. That means that you can host a payment system on our infrastructure. You will have to certify by yourself. You will have to take care of the infrastructure the software. You need to take care of the software, but the infrastructure is automatically compliant. Our partners as well, they do have different kind of certifications. So really is about what you need, and we can look into our pool of partners for you, and we can find the best solution that is available. Another question that we receive is how can we start with integration or migration to the cloud? That is it's kind of a complex question. It really depends on the way that your system is working at this point. And the best way of going with this is just having a chat with us. So please get in touch through the chat on our website to our sales representative. You will be assigned an accounts manager, and then you can book an appointment with us, the solution architects, and we can look through all the process that you have in place, what kind of skills you have, what are the constraints for your platform, and suggest you what is the best way to go ahead to start integrating your platform in cloud. What is DDoS and how does it work? So this probably has been mentioned because I was speaking about DDoS protection before. A DDoS attack is when your website gets targeted by a large amount of connection all at the same time. This could be an attack that can be that can hit in different way. That could be big data, lots of requests, or slow connection. And the aim for this attack is to destroy your website, make it unavailable for other customers to log in and to come and buy your product. The fact that we do have a DDoS protection, it means that with our network, we can easily bring all this connection that are flagged as unwanted connection, and we can move it away. Our DDoS system works in two ways. We do have a basic tier, which is enabled by default, and let's say it takes care of the most known DDoS coming from infrastructure, coming from a region that we do normally have traffic with, or they are known, how would you say, malicious IP addresses. On the other side, the professional layer, so the other tier, the highest tier, will provide you with a 24/7 support, and will help you to proactively engage with our team if you do have some specific malicious activity that you want to block. I hope that responds to the question. Let's see if there are other questions. Okay, there are no more questions at this point, so feel free to get in touch with us. It's been really a pleasure for me to host this webinar, and I can't wait to speak with you. So just if you're interested in moving your load into cloud, please get in touch with our through our chat from our control panel, from our website, and please request your meeting with a solution architect to discuss the strategy for your move to cloud. Thank you very much to everybody, and have a good evening.